bro. You have 13 or 14 deals going on. And do you have a full-time job?
Yes, I have a full-time job,
Goodness. Yeah, yeah.
uh, 40, 45 hours a week in my job, around 20, 25 hours in my real estate. Uh, no family, kids yet. I keep saying that. So all my, I mean, it was a choice I made 15 months back because I wanted to get in this space. I wanted to go as fast, as quickly, and spread myself as much as possible so that I will know the entire scope, entire
Hell yeah.
spectrum, right?
Mhm.
So that's a choice I made. So all my personal hours after work, on weekend, whatever I can, I devoted here. And that's the reason I could go fast. I have almost 800 plus apartments now, or units, they call it, or doors, that I manage. Around 80, $75 million worth of properties across the US.
Sheesh. Said it again. How many doors and how much?
It's 800 plus doors, and the total value of the assets is around 75 million.
Sheesh. And
So I'm either as a general partner or a joint venture, as
all
a
of
joint
them are
venture,
all of them are GPs or JVs.
JVs, correct. Yeah.
Sheesh. Welcome to the Income Producing Assets Show. I am your host, Erwin Anderson, and here at Ander Enterprise, we choose to focus on achieving financial security through income producing assets. And today, we are here with the great Hemant. Hemant was dropping so much fire and so much gems, and this is part two with Hemant the Great. You were saying earlier that you can do like sweat equity and then even get into syndication with no money.
Well, to do sweat equity, I live in California.
I got you.
Nobody
Okay.
buys in
Yeah,
California.
right.
So I wish I this was not I was somewhere else, but because of my W-2 and I need to be here. So that's that I just work with what I have in hand right now. So it's okay, and I can do remote. I'm very flexible with out of state investments and out of state partners now. So this is all good for me right now.
Awesome. So 7 JVs, how many syndications?
Six now,
And
six.
6 syndications. Goodness. So you have pretty much experience with both.
Yes.
And what are you doing now? What are you working on now?
So we are closing one syndication in Tampa, Florida. I think by Wednesday. I think another 4 days and it should get closed. So that's the last one for this year. And it went through again. This is a great example for one of your previous questions where the interest rates went through some up and down. You know that, right? It just shot up with the Fed increasing rates, right? And unless you lock in the rates, every time your process goes through that cycle, you want the lender to close it fast, but you need to be ready with your documentation, with your contribution, with your amounts in the bank, uh,
Hmm.
to allow the lender to fix a rate, right? But what happens in syndications is the process of people investing. They're getting interested, they're showing interest, talking to one of the general partners, then they committing something. Okay, I would love to put in 50, 100, 200K, whatever. Then they signing the documents, then they transferring the money. It takes a while. Right? And with 40, 50 investors coming and going through that process, we just have to follow up with them if they are interested, and they need to, till all the money comes in the bank and we are ready from our side, and
Hmm.
show it to the lender that, hey, we are ready. The rates don't get locked, and that date
Oh,
just keeps going.
right.
Yeah. So that happened in the current deal where some investors, they were going through some 1031 exchange, or somebody's money was coming late or early or whatever. So it just went on for a while, and our rates got locked uh, at least a month later than we wanted to. But fortunately, fortunately, uh, that was the time when the rates just came down for a few days.
Nice.
So it was so we got late in closing almost by 3 to 4 weeks, but it was good for our shareholders actually. And if we
Nice.
had closed a month back, we would have closed at a higher higher interest.
Nice,
So
nice.
so these things happen in syndication, because it goes through a process, it goes through a cycle, and it depends on people who uh, who you cannot control the activities as much, right? So that's what, the great example to tell you what difference it could be between JVs and syndication.
Man, bro, you have 13 or 14 deals going on. And do you have a full-time job?
Yes, I have a full-time job,
Goodness. Yeah, yeah.
uh, 40-45 hours a week in my job, around 20-25 hours in my real estate. Uh, no family, kids yet. I keep saying that. So
Mhm.
all my, I mean, it was a choice I made 15 months back because I wanted to get in this space. I wanted to go as fast, as quickly, and spread myself as much as possible so that I will know the entire scope, entire
Hell yeah.
spectrum, right? So
Hmm.
that's a choice I made. So all my personal hours after work, on weekend, whatever I can, I devoted here, and that's the reason I could go fast. I have like almost 800 plus apartments now, or units they call it, or doors, that I manage, around 75 million dollars worth of properties across the US.
Sheesh. Said it again. How many doors and how much?
So 800 plus doors, and the total value of the assets is around 75 million.
Sheesh. And
So I'm either as a general partner or a joint venture, as a
all of them
joint
are
venture.
all of them are GPs or JVs.
JVs, correct. Yeah.
Sheesh. So you're looking to I guess the big is when you sell it or you refinance. That's the big thing,
Yeah.
right?
So the whole game is about how quickly you can refinance, increase the value, go through your strategy, business plan, increase the value, the income of the property, go back to the lender and say, hey, we would like to refinance, get your money out, give back shareholders their money. That's the primary objective. And keep the property running. Your rental income comes every month. That's infinite returns because you don't have money in the deal after refinance. Most of the properties return between 70 to 100% of the money back to the shareholders. So people love it. The shareholders love it when you put in some money. 2 years later, that money comes back, but your checks are still coming in for as long as the property is there.
Right.
That's that. Like many of my investors who are doing similar W-2 jobs, much more stressful jobs, and obviously they have their families and kids, and they love the fact that they are able to not do much, just sign the subscription documents, and some checks keep coming in their bank account for the investments they made, and there is someone like me who is giving them monthly updates and making sure that the checks keep coming, the refinance happens, their investment goes back to them. So they are building their own separate income streams for themselves, right? It starts slow and with maybe one or two checks every month or every quarter, but when you do it recurring, every year you try to put 50, 100, 200K. Some California investors put a lot higher. Uh, there comes a time and one of the reasons the way I started was I met somebody who passively invested for 7-8 years, and every year that person used to build another or put it in another property. So year one, you have one property that you invested in, maybe 50, 100K.
As an
Year
LP,
two,
right?
as an LP.
Right.
Year two, you invest in another property. In the year three, the money that you invested in the first property comes back to you through refinance, right? So
Right.
you take that, put somewhere else,
Sheesh. Right,
right?
right.
And you keep on building another stream and keep on churning from the old streams, right?
Mm.
And that way, suddenly they realized after 7-8 years that they are getting $10,000-$11,000 in their account every month without doing anything while they are sleeping, right?
That is the true definition of income producing assets.
so
Wow, right, right.
So
Uh-huh.
when I met that person, it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God. And, it, and that's how, the like I said, every good news or great news also has some cloud over it, and the cloud over that was during COVID. The whole real estate game changed because everyone who was sitting at home started think. I mean, this is my hypothesis. Started thinking, how can I sit at home permanently? which means how can I get income sitting at home or sleeping? Right. That's what
Right,
I meant.
right, right.
And then whoever had not ever done real estate started looking at real estate,
Hmm.
and they came to know these kind of process or the procedure that people follow to build up their income. And a lot of new people like myself and others who wanted to play the game, they jumped in, and that's how the property values went up, the apartment values went up. And this person I spoke, this person I just mentioned, who was kind of my idol, around whom I said, this is what I would do, not for myself but for my investors, and then I
Mm,
would be managing that.
right.
Um, and that person did mention that all people who are new jumping in, they have raised the value earlier. If you could get, like, say, $200 or $150 a door profit, that profit came down to $100 or $50 because so many people jumped in and they started throwing offers at all the properties, right? But it's a cycle. Those days will come back again. It's still a very healthy asset. People are still making around 15-20% average returns. No other asset gives that kind of stability and predictability. That's why there are so many real estate investors now, and especially the ones who are doing it passively, right?
That's good. That's good. So what do you think about the market right now and where it's going?
I think the market is kind of it's going through this resettling phase, and the reason I call resettling is because we had a pre-COVID phase where there were some standard rules, guidelines. It was it was all very predictable.
And my question is, what's the difference between single family investing and multifamily?
I think the biggest difference is how quickly the returns can come in multifamily, right? And by that I mean is single family, one property. If you are out of state, you have a property manager doing that, or maybe your partner who may be local doing that, right? Same amount of work, same amount of evaluation of partners and third party property managers, same amount of document signing, contract signings, same amount of talking to the lenders, their underwriting, their delays, their documents, right? It's just the scaling up game. In multifamily, you have more units, so you can scale up quickly on your returns, and your numbers can go up very high. Especially if as an individual, you can start with duplex, fourplexes, but they are considered residential multifamily. Once it goes beyond four units, it's commercial. In commercial, you can join hands and buy 10, 20, 30, 40, or you can syndicate and buy 100 plus two. If the price range is much higher. But that's how people do, and many people move from single family to multifamily and then over to syndication is purely based on this principle of scaling up quickly, because the effort you take more or less becomes similar, right? I think. And one of the things we were talking about on larger multifamily last time, and which I would definitely want to elaborate a little more, is when people grow into this 10, 20, 30 unit properties, or let's say they buy 100 units and syndicate um, with investors' money, there's a lot of legal processes that you need to follow. So it's a process, that's also that entire process where you bring in investors' money, you form a syndicate, you follow syndication guidelines, you have an attorney on your team, you have the lender and the lender's underwriting team writing your deals, and they coming up with some certain loan commitment, and then when the closing, and we all chase the closing dates, and we all make sure the investors transfer funds and our documents are in order before the closing. So all that process is also repeatable, right? It's not that you are doing something new every time. So that's why I have seen many people who start with residential, but they quickly realize multifamily is a scaling game. They can do things fast with the same with more returns on multifamily side, and that's how they move on to the multifamily side.
Wow, definitely, some definitely pros to doing multifamily, going scaling faster with a group of people. You know, you
Yeah,
go together, you can actually get more done and probably knock down way more units for sure.
yeah, yeah.
So as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at your impressive portfolio. You got your joint ventures in Nashville, Tampa, Cincinnati, Iowa, Miami, Cincinnati again, New Mexico, Dallas, Texas, Augusta, Georgia, Nashville. You like Nashville, huh?
I have some good partners there. Yes.
Awesome. Nashville and Tampa, Florida. Can you walk us through like your deals, like in order, your first one going down the line, and the pros and cons of the deals, or the good, the bad? What were some lessons learned that you applied to the next one, to this one, about your deals?
Sure. So let me divide this particular topic into two areas. One is where my joint ventures are, and one is where the larger deals are with investors. The joint ventures are pretty straightforward. You join hands with people you connect with, you feel you find a synergy with somebody you trust, somebody or you build trust over time by knowing them, by knowing their background, their skill sets, what they have done already in this market or in this space, real estate space. And you talk about it if they find, and I'm sitting in California, I don't buy in California, I need to buy out of state to make that so that the deals make sense. So if that investor or if that friend or that partner finds a property, then we come together, we decide a structure, how we are going to take it down. Are we going to contribute equally, or somebody's contributing more, somebody's taking our boots on the ground activities? What would be our profit sharing? What would be our structure and the equity sharing if and when we sell the property? So though these discussions happen, right? Uh, you need not know the partner, there are many times where you are dealing with people you met at REI events or some trainings that you attended. You don't know them enough, but you can have an honest discussion across the table and try to understand each other and build a partnership. So it's very easy. That's how the joint ventures are. So all my joint ventures based on the partners I met at the real estate events, or and we had lunch together, or we were hopping bars in the evening after the events ended, and we came to know about each other, about our backgrounds, about our families, and it was a very healthy conversation. We know that the energy synergy matches, and why don't we do a deal together, and that's how it starts, right? So all those deals have happened. The joint venture deals have happened that way.
With your joint ventures, are they with the same people over and over again? Have you partnered again, or just different?
No, it's with different people. It's with different people. And because I'm out of state, for me, the number one criteria is the person I join hands with needs to be an expert in the local market that we are planning to buy the property, right? Because then it makes sense for me to be an out of state partner, becoming a joint venture partner in that particular deal, right? So that's on the joint venture side. On the larger deals, on the syndication side, it works a little different, because a group of partners, core team comes together, and they pool in investors' money, and we go and buy that large asset. It could be 100 plus units or 200 plus units, whatever it could be, right? We are buying it in a syndication. We are pooling investors' money. As soon as we are pulling in investors' money, the SEC comes into picture, and we need to follow SEC guidelines. Need to have an attorney looking at everything that we are doing. We need to have subscription documents that gives them a membership stake or a shareholding in the property, all the investors, right? So this group of this core team of who basically structure this are called the general partners, and they manage the business plan to buy the property, to add value to the property, and give the returns to the investors as we are projecting, right? Um, so it that works in a different way. So when I started on that, there are two things that a newcomer in this large multifamily space can do. Two things are: one, you can bring in your connections and your investors, and you can help raise capital for the syndication. Or two, you can find a deal that works and the numbers work, and you have underwritten it, and you have done your document due diligence, and you have something substantial which you can take to other partners who can help you close it and bring investors to take the deal down, right? So these are the only two things that a newcomer can do. So when I joined the industry, and I realized these are the ways I can join. I started by helping to get investors on board, right, through my connections, friends, family first. So my primarily role when I started was to get the capital and the investors to the deal. Uh, there are in this industry, there are three types of capital raises, I would say, right? The first one, they will bring in the capital. They'll just take their they'll cut in the partnership stake, and they won't care about what happens, because they believe totally on the core team that is there to manage the property. The second type of capital raisers are the one which bring in the money, and they also help in managing the asset, but they don't necessarily get paid for managing that asset, which is actually not the right thing to do. and and the third type of investor is someone like me who brings in the capital and also wants a piece of the asset management activities, along with getting a split from that, right? Because that's how the SEC guidelines work. The SEC says you just cannot be raising capital. You have to do at least two roles or two activities in the syndication world, right? Every general partner needs to do that. So that's how my journey began. I brought in the capital. I took a piece of asset management, small piece, because everybody else was experienced, more senior than me. Then the next deal I did, I brought in the capital and I took a bigger piece of the asset management, and that's how I grew. And today now, I can bring in capital, I can asset manage, I can do due diligence, I can help close the deal. So that's been my journey when I started on the larger deals.
Wow, wow. Okay, so you got your things that you bring to the table, and you talked about the different types of capital raisers. Awesome, awesome. Can I ask you a question? Have you had any seminars, as they call them?
Oh yes, my first deal was a seminar, the biggest learning lesson of my journey so far, and that's because when I joined, I mean, and obviously all newcomers in this space experience the same. We are excited, we are ready to go, we just want to do something quickly, get onto a deal, and get our hands dirty. What happens many times is you want to you get a deal, and someone gives you and offers you to be a part of the deal. You as an individual, if you are bringing in investors or if you're bringing in your own money, you should be in a position to do your own due diligence of that deal. How good is it really? Do the numbers really work? What kind of due diligence has that team who has got you the deal done already? Have they walked all units? Do they know the type of tenants? Do they know if they are paying? All sorts of due diligence items when you are acquiring multifamily. You also need to make sure that has been done to the T. That has been done um, properly and to your satisfaction. When what happened with my first deal was I was so excited with the fact that I was getting such a big portion of the deal by bringing in investors, and that it could be like a 123 unit deal as my first large deal, which I thought was quite significant. Um, I did not look over the due diligence that these folks, the other partners have done. And what happened was over the next 6 months after the deal closed, we got a lot of surprises where there were some really bad tenants in the property who were not paying. There were some gang members and drug dealers living on the property, and the team who had done the due diligence had not checked these details, or they had not walked all the units. You have to walk all units. You have to see the condition of every unit and who's living there, and how they are keeping it.
Where
Some
is
of the
this?
This was in New Mexico.
Okay.
So then our business plan, which was supposed to start after we closed, it really started after 6-8 months, because the initial 6-8 months we were only trying to get rid of these bad tenants and bring in the ones who would pay. And so this was a surprise which I, as if I had thought about it carefully, and if I had done my own due diligence, or if I had really thought about from an investor's perspective, I would have probably hold off, and then probably looked at other options. But the good thing was, once we had done this, there was so much learning and so much experience just by this one property, that now I can handle any property that comes my way, right? The second fortunate thing is, our numbers or our business plan didn't get affected very much. We are still on track to deliver what we had promised. We are maybe a couple of months behind, but our investors have been very reasonable, and they understand the situation, and uh, they have been patient. So now that we have come out of that bad patch, the property is doing quite well, and I think year two is where, or year two is when we are going to meet all our targets that we had said will meet. The commitments or the projections will be met. The property is doing well. Now we have good tenants. Now it's just a matter of keeping it operating smoothly.
Okay, great, great. So the biggest thing that I heard from that is you learned everything from that deal. So now you can handle anything. And the big takeaway was to make sure that you do a proper due diligence
Yeah.
and
Yes.
actually walk the property.
Yes, we have to walk the property. There are a couple of things that I realized, are very easy to do, but they are so important. You usually kind of feel it's not that important, but walking the property, going to the property at day, at night, just seeing what kind of people are moving around, you get a feel of the security and safety and the type of tenants in the property. And even if you go, while buying large properties, especially, it's always good to call the county or the nearest cops for police station and just check, hey, or were there any incidents on this property, security, safety wise. And I'm talking about a class C property, right, which is the working class folks. Maybe some of them could be on housing assistance, and so I knew that this was the kind of property, but the kind of due diligence it needs is different than a class A, where you have people paying top notch rent, and they expect the best gymnasium, the best swimming pool, and the best vending machines, right? And the best tennis court. So that's a different demographic. This was a different demographic. So as my first deal, I dealt with the worst of the worst, right? Situation, worst of the worst situation. That's what I would add there. So much experience in that, dealing with the county, dealing with housing authorities, dealing with the cops, dealing with security agencies, that after managing that, everything else seems like a cakewalk now.
Is the New Mexico a landlord or a tenant-friendly state?
It is in between. I wouldn't say it's a
Okay.
blue state, but it is in between. It's as far as the landlord friendliness goes, it is in between. It did have a very long COVID relief program to the tenants, but now they are being now they know that COVID is, it's kind of gone behind the scenes. People are still working, so they are being flexible with the landlords now.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Man, so definitely, so that was your hardest deal.
Yes. First deal was my hardest deal. First deal, hardest deal.
Nice, nice. But
I
after
mean,
that,
I would just advise if anyone asks me, hey, and I would definitely say jump onto more stable deals, easier ones, because it becomes too stressful. I didn't have, I mean, I don't have friends and I don't have family and kids, so it's easy for me to spend more time. But people who have family, kids, and not that kind of free time to dive into so many phone calls and so many follow-ups, and I think that it would be um, difficult. So try to start with simpler deals.
so you're saying this was a harder deal, but just because of the demographic that were in there. So
Yeah,
you're saying
yeah.
on the
Them,
due diligence, you would just not go towards a deal like this.
to start with, yes. If my due diligence says that this is the kind of demographic that I would need to deal with, I wouldn't start as my first deal, because your first deal is not just your progress. Your first deal is also there to showcase to your investors what is out there, what good things are out there, how they can make money. So if for me to take a jump from this stage, I needed to showcase to my investors that there is something, that we are doing something profitable, which I could not for a long time, because it was not profitable for a long time, right? So you have to build your foundation. To build your foundation, you have to first showcase some really stable standard deals, and then you can take over all kinds of deals.
So speaking of that, you have the same investors on all these deals that you're putting together.
Yeah, fortunately, and by by grace of God, I guess everyone has jumped on every deal that I have done. So all my 40, 50, I think 47 or 48 investors, most of them has invested in every deal that I have done. It's a matter of honesty and how I presented the deal to them, and making sure they understand the risks as well as returns. So if you're upfront with them, you tell them what is what, and you're honest about your intentions, to make sure that you'll not there make you'll not let anything impact or affect their investment. I think that is what they look for. So that's how it's been, all one-to-one conversations and connections.
Nice, nice. It's very impressive, very impressive. So do you have all these are properties that you've acquired? Have you refinanced or sold anything yet?
So we are in the process. So we sold one full cycle deal where we made around 55% cash on cash returns within a year. That was a joint venture in Denver. One syndication is, we
Nice,
are,
nice.
yeah, we are basically looking at options to sell, because we have been getting some soft offers from people. So if we decide to sell, and our refinance was in the year 20, towards the end of 2023 or 2024. If we sell now, our investors make around 30% average, or like around 30-35% cash on cash returns. um, but we are still deciding. So that the large deals have not gone through a full cycle. We are in the process to do one right now. But one joint venture has gone through the full cycle, and I think the investors are getting their projected returns on the large deals, so they are quite happy.
Nice, nice. Okay, cool, cool. So you got the experience, you got all these units. What's the occupancy rate of most of these units? Like where do you hover around, or is there a unit
So
that's higher than others?
So it depends on different kinds of units. Like, for example, this New Mexico one was like a Class C working class. Uh, it, Initially the occupancy was 95%. Then when we changed the demographic, it went down to around 80%. Now it is again coming back slowly to 90%, because new people are coming in. If it's a Class B, Class A, somewhere like in Augusta or Nashville, we have always had 90% occupancy in those areas. A place like Miami or Cincinnati, we have had 100% occupancy in those assets. So it differs. It's been different because the location and the demographics have also been different. But usually, for most of the deals, whether it is joint venture or syndications, unless there's a huge value add project plan, right? For example, in my Houston deal, we are trying to change the class of the property from a C to a B plus, right? What does that mean is we need to change the quality of the apartments, the quality of the complex, add in more amenities. So there the occupancy is only 67% because we are working on the apartments, rehabbing them continuously, right? So it also depends on your business plan and at what point you are rehabbing, the units are vacant for you to work on. It all depends on that. But right now, this is the situation.
Where do you like them to be at? 90%, 100% occupancy, 80%? Where would you like them
Well,
to
we
be?
we all ideally want to have 100%.
Right, right. But if they say 100% though, that means the price is too low, right?
Well, the reason I say that is because when you say 100%, which means you have completed your business plan, the people are liking it, and there's high demand. So
Right.
all your projections are coming true, right?
Mhm.
Um, but personally, if you ask me if it is around 90%, then you have 10% to play around with. When I say play around with means you can play around with the rent. If you are able to receive higher rents, you can play around with something like Airbnb, for example. Maybe 5, 6 units you can keep on Airbnb and try to make it work and see how that impacts your income, right? Depending on the location and the demand.
So
Some units
do STRs, short-term rentals?
I don't completely do, but
Okay.
there is an option for us to try it out in all these units that I mentioned, because there is in one of my properties in Iowa City, there's a hospital 2 blocks down the line, and there's a huge
Ooh,
demand for traveling nurses.
right.
So we were thinking of a short-term, mid-term rental on that property. Then, even on our Miami property, it is so centrally located that we always think about why don't we have 1 or 2 units on short-term rental, right? Um, but we are not trying too many things right now because our focus is to first work on the business plan as multifamily, and then when we stabilize, then whether it is short-term rental, mid-term rental, you can play around with all these things, right? Because short-term rental again comes with its own complexities of having everything ready in tip-top shape. You have different um, housekeeping items that need to be taken care of. You need a separate kind of property management outlook, somebody with that expertise. So we don't want to mix everything right now. Once we go through our business plan and reach a stable state, then we can play around, right? Because then we have enough buffer built without impacting investor returns, and we can play around with that.
Okay, nice, nice. So yeah, we run a short-term rental business. We have 6 units in 4 different cities. So if
Right.
you're looking for a property, a STR, I would gladly go in there
Yes, I would
and
love to have you.
yeah, and furnish it and list it and for you and go ahead and secure those units. So definitely maybe down the road, we can
Yes,
talk about STR and some joint ventures or syndications down the road for sure.
sure, absolutely. I would love to do that. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, Hemant the Great, I appreciate you for coming here and blessing the listeners, dropping a lot of game about multifamily, joint ventures, syndication, due diligence, single family housing versus multifamily housing, and the power in multifamily is extremely great, especially when you talk about working as a team and taking down all of these units. Extremely successful. And thank you, Hemant, for coming on here. But before we close, I do want to ask you, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I think 5 years from now, uh, I'll be doing the same thing that I'm doing, but at a larger scale. I would probably be out of my W-2. By then, I would be earning enough to passive income through all these investments that I've made, active and passive. I shouldn't say passive because I'm actively operating these. So I have this monthly inflow from all these properties. I would be able to leave my W2, and I'll be doing this at a larger scale, and also helping newcomers in this space to join this space in the right manner, in a fair manner, where their effort, contribution, investment is taken care of, and and they get the right return in the right spot when they join teams. Because many a times what happens is, for newcomers, this space becomes overwhelming. Sometimes too much information, and how do I take my first step? Whether this first step, whether it's the right step, whether I'm joining hands with the right partners. I mean, all these things, you kind of place yourself in the center, your goals and your whatever dreams you have on this space, in this space for the next 5 years, and then everything is around it, right? So you try to take what suits you first. What kind of partners would you like to work with? So I want to make this kind of ecosystem where newcomers can come in and take a first cautious step without making too many mistakes that I did, right? Because I went so fast, I did a tons of mistakes. If someone can learn from my mistakes and lessons learned, they would go much farther than I have come in the last year and a half.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would love to help you to help others. So how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my email is hemant@zenaboutgroup.com. That's my website, Zen About Group. And if you can email me at hemant@zenaboutgroup.com, I will get in touch. You can go to my website and arrange a meeting with me, schedule a meeting with me. And my number is also given there. So I'm available. I'm always looking forward to talk to new people, new investors, new partners. So the website is zenaboutgroup.com. That's and my email is hemant@zenaboutgroup.com.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and there you have it. Brought to you by Andrew Enterprise. We have Hemant the Great, definitely a stand-up guy, integrity, character. Make sure you connect with him as we continue to grow on your journey with income producing assets. Thank you.
Thank you.